Hello, welcome back to my channel, and this is a tutorial on how to draw an ear. First, I like to draw the curve of the tragus, which is the part nearer to the ear hole. From the tragus, I like to outline the outer part of the ear. As I'm doing this, I am making sure to keep the pressure light, as I want my sketches to be light. This way, it will be easier to add the shadow and highlights. Whenever sketching any subject matter, it's always best to keep the sketches light. Do not press hardly onto your paper, as this will create harsh marks onto your drawing. Here, I am mapping out the lobe. This way, I can measure how large my ear needs to be. Connect the two lines with a curve, and here you have the outline of your ear. If you wish to overline over any mistakes, always do so. The next step is drawing the details of the ear and its curves. First, make a line near the tragus like so. Then connect this line with another curve that will be made as your helix. Make sure to match the curve with the outer ear, but add space in between. This is still a sketch, so make sure to not add too much pressure on the lines. Here, I'm re-outlining the previous curve I just did. This is where I know I will create my shadows. Create this curve all the way up to the earlobe. Now I'm going to add more detail by adding more curves to create the whole of the ear. Keep in mind that all the lines that we've just created are very curvaceous, meaning there should be no straight lines. Little imperfections here and there make the drawing more realistic. Now we're going to use the same technique as previous video, which is called cross-hatching. Start creating faint lines where you want the shadows to be. When you get to smaller details of the ear, make sure that the lines aren't too big and overbearing. This way, you can have more control on your pencil and you can have more control on your shading. When shading smaller detail, make sure to always create a gradient. This gradient should usually go from dark to light, but you can also do the opposite depending on how much pressure you apply. The harder the pressure of your pencil, the darker the shade. The lighter the pressure on your pencil, the lighter the shade. While drawing always have a picture of your subject matter, this makes it easier to understand where your shadows and highlights will be located. Here, I'm simply adding more shadows around the edges. This gives my ear more dimension and makes it more realistic. Now we can lightly shade almost the entire ear. Create faint strokes and add light pressure to create light shadows. Do not be scared to go over the lines. Remember, doing more adds more dimension, making your drawing more realistic. Now it's time to soften the rough shading. Here, I am using a cotton swab. This technique will help to soften the shading, which makes your subject matter a lot smoother. This means that this will make the ear more realistic, as the surface of the ear will be more distinguishable. With the cotton swab, I'm also adding shadows to other areas of the ear, making sure to smooth out any rough lines created. When necessary, you can always switch around the side of the cotton swab. This will help prevent any shadows in any areas where the highlights are meant to be. Here, I'm making sure to smoothen out any dark patches, which will create a smoother gradient, making the ear more realistic. Now, I will be using a rubber to create the highlights of the ear. This way, the shadows stand out more and your subject matter becomes more 3D. As you can see, I am focusing on all parts of the ear, including the earlobe, the sides, and any outer spaces where the shadow wasn't necessary. Now it's time for the fun of cross-hatching. First, I'm re-outlining the ear, making sure that the cross-hatches won't affect any shadows. Now start by creating lines in one direction. You can go over these lines to create more darker shadows, which in turn will give more dimension to your ear. Once you've made these lines, start creating another set of lines in the opposite direction. This is the method of crosshatch, as it looks like you're creating mini hashtags. Start creating more lines in different directions. The purpose of this method is to create shadows more easily. And for beginners, this is a great technique to use, simply because you're creating lines in one direction and you're mimicking this in a parallel direction. Again, do not be afraid to overlap any lines, as doing more will make this drawing more realistic. If necessary, always rub out any excess lines that you do not need. Remember the direction of the lines, follow the directions of the curve. For the inner ear, make sure the directions are to the right. For the outer ear, make sure the directions are to the left. Always follow the curves of the ear. This will make your cross-hatching easier. And here's your completed ear. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more videos and tutorials. Like, comment and share for any other future artists.